Welcome back to the Smashing Heads podcast. This is episode 5. I remembered this week. As always, I'm Zach. I'm joined by my wife, Hannah.
Hey.
And my best friend, Jake.
You know what? Something just hit me
What just hit you?
that I have to get out of the way before we go any further
Get it out.
in this podcast. All right? Because it's been a big problem the past couple of podcasts.
What was it?
And I want to get it right.
Okay.
Zynga / Smashing Zach. ZACKH. Can I get a round of applause or something? Give me something.
So I'll clap for it.
You finally know how to say the letter K.
You finally spelled your fake URL right, which is not at all how you spell my name, which is also not at all a real URL.
So I do this thing with Zach where your name is just spelled ZAC.
That's it.
That's it. But Zach is spelled so many different ways that
Yeah.
when I text him,
Yeah.
I decide to combine all the different ways. So normally I'll be like, hey, Zach, ZACKH, when I don't think any Zach
I've never
is spelled
seen that.
like that.
Yeah.
So that's not how you spell his name. Before I did my usual, how's everybody doing tonight, I had to get that right for my sake because I looked pretty ridiculous. And, you know, I don't want to be perceived as a guy that not only can't spell, but can't say the letter K properly.
That you have in your name
It's the
as
third-
Jake.
Right,
The third letter in your name.
right. And
Yeah.
so I can say K this week.
Okay.
I can't make any promises next week. But having said that,
You want to take a pause and then give your line?
yeah, are we pausing?
Well, I mean, you just... You can't do it now.
How's everybody doing tonight?
That's it.
Uh,
I feel like the payoff didn't happen.
Yeah.
no.
I feel good.
Okay.
I mean,
good.
it's fine.
I feel good.
Yeah. So, up top, want to hit our plugs. This week's been great, social media-wise. We've had a lot of interaction.
It's been a lot more fun.
It has been for us. Jokingly, at the end, it was kind of spur of the moment, said, if you made it this far, hashtag Cannonball.
Got a few hashtag cannonballs.
Way more than I expected.
Yeah.
Some in the email, some on Instagram, some on Twitter. Facebook? We had someone on Facebook, but it wasn't about that. So, up top, do you remember them? Do you want to do them? Do either of you want to do these?
Twitter is going to be @. Smashing Heads PC.
That's
PC
confusing.
stands
That is
for.
very confusing.
I wasn't sure.
Okay, so let me.
PC stands for pretty cute.
I'll from now on, I'll just be the official one to do the plugs.
I thought I did okay.
Well, you said @, and the inflection was very strange. And so, @Smashing Heads PC,
Pretty cute.
pretty cute podcast.
Pretty cute podcast.
Instagram @Smashing Heads Podcast. Facebook, same thing. Just search Smashing Heads Podcast, but you can do Facebook.com/Smashing Heads Podcast. Email. We typically only get one person who emails us a lot. We've had a couple people, but Paul's the main guy that emails us, which is great.
Our friend Paul.
What a fun email we got from him
Man,
this week.
so I woke up Wednesday morning for work, and I opened our email, and I'm just like, this is amazing and also ridiculous that it went into this much detail. Last week, because we'd only emailed him once before, because he emailed us, we emailed back, and you know, I didn't know if I offended him by talking about Blake Griffin. I didn't know.
So we had an official apology time.
we were concerned about it.
We were, and so I just up top was, wanted to make sure that he knew that we were all joking around. So I wake up to see that we got an email back at 3 a.m. our time.
3 a.m.
Yeah.
Wednesday morning.
And it was very detailed. And we actually, just so we were all on the same page, before we started recording tonight, we started a little later than normal because we had Jake read the entire email top to bottom to all of us. So we all knew that we had read everything.
Right. And probably took a good 15 minutes.
Yeah. But we're not saying this in a bad way.
No.
It
Like,
was
it was-
such a good email.
It was all great content. Everything. So last week we kind of, as a running joke, just started to say, "Hey, Paul, check on that." Like, not thinking anything was going to happen.
Stat checker
We didn't
Paul.
even know
Yeah.
if he was going to listen to that episode.
Yeah, well, I
we
didn't-
thought he was upset with
I
us.
didn't know if I made him mad and he was gone forever. And turns out,
We're
no.
best friends.
Yeah. He answered everything from the past email I sent him, and then answered and had like hardline facts on everything we talked about, including when you were like, I don't need to check anything. I got a computer, but I don't need it.
And I apologize to the listeners for that because I was extremely confident. What had happened was, and
Yeah.
I told you this after I'd read the email, that I had looked up something online at work that indicated that Jenna was undefeated in eliminations, but it was from like 2016.
So it's true
at
at
that
the time.
point,
Yeah.
yeah. So bad sources, bad.
Well,
You know,
it was a good source. It just was outdated information at that point.
right.
So,
So bad on me for not realizing what I was looking at.
but here's the thing. We are not ever. I am not ever. I feel like I can speak for all of us. We are not ever going to say like we are the authority on the challenge.
Speak for yourself. You don't know what I'm saying next week.
That's true. So I mean, we are fans and we like the show a lot, and I think we have a pretty good knowledge, especially collectively, and we have good separate viewpoints. I think, but I don't think that we are like your end all be all stats and facts for the challenge.
What we say is not always hardline truth.
No, and if you've listened to any of our past episodes by now, you should have an idea of that.
I think the best way to put it is that we don't speak to you with our mind. We speak to you.
What?
We speak to you with our heart.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're emotionally driven when it comes to the challenge, and so
We're fans.
We're fans, and so that's what we're gonna give you. We said it. I think it was episode 0. We're gonna give you our heart, and I think we have done that.
I don't know if anyone said.
I said it.
Did
It was
you?
either episode 0 or
I
episode
haven't.
1.
It's been a
So
lot. Man, okay, so we started this on July 4th.
right, it's officially over a month. Been over a
Yeah.
month.
Yeah, it's this is what's
It's
this?
August the 7th.
So it's been 5 weeks
Yeah.
since we started. The downloads, the places people are downloading from, still continually blows our mind. We were
We hit a milestone
we
last
were
week.
under 900.
When we put
Yeah.
up episode 4,
We were right around 900.
and then the next day we were up over 1,000.
Yeah, and we're way past that now, and it's been really awesome. I mean, that was a big milestone for us. I didn't expect that to happen in a month's time,
no,
and it did in
I
exactly
don't know
a month.
that we ever expected it to happen, period.
Yeah, I mean, going back on Reddit now and I'm trying to do my part and get into just reading more about podcasting, other podcasts in general. I saw one today. I haven't even told you guys that this guy was like, hey, most of our episodes get 2 to 3 downloads. Our number 1 podcast, it got 10 downloads. So that was a big spike. And I was just like, man, I was like,
That's what we were expecting.
yeah, I was like, we're doing a lot better than, it kind of is humbling to go back and say, hey, we've had this many in this short amount of time. And it seems like it's only growing to me. That said, we had a few more iTunes reviews this week that we saw.
this is something you've got to address.
I do
'cause
have to address something. So I didn't take it offensively at all. It's very I'll read the more flattering one first. They both are 5-star reviews, which is great. Someone did leave a 1-star review.
did they leave like
no,
an
they
actual
didn't-
review?
they
They
didn't
didn't
say
say
anything.
anything?
No, I mean, if you're,
Why?
it's fine if you don't like us. I'm not the type of person that if I don't like something, I'm going to go out of my way to negatively associate with it. But that's me personally. But it's fine if you don't like us. But if you're going to do that, you might as well give us some feedback on what
Let
it's
us
about.
know what we could do to be better.
Yeah.
like a good challenger should. Remember, that's what you said.
Exactly.
Okay. So,
I've got a good brain.
you're
Big
all
brain.
brain. You're no heart this week. So one of them just says very entertaining, great challenge podcast with good insight. All 3 of the hosts are very likable. Also, their accents are intoxicating.
What does that mean?
I think it's I'll say Jake has the most prominent accent out of the 3 of us. I think
Really?
Jake, you sound like a Southern man.
someone thought you were Kohutta when you were
And Ace, I got.
Ace, very Southern guys.
Yeah.
That should tell you something.
I catch Hannah especially when she like talks to her mom on the phone. She slips
Hey.
more and more into it.
Which is wild because she's Filipino.
I
I
can't
know.
help it.
I know, but she's got her moments on that.
I have lived in the South my whole life.
We've all lived in Tennessee our whole lives. I've lived in different parts. Hannah's lived in different parts. You've lived in a couple places.
I've lived in almost every area of Tennessee
my
throughout my life.
my whole life. I feel like I don't have much of an accent. I'm sure compared to other people, I do. But my whole life, I remember people. I lived in one town for like 15 years, and I would go places.
the town I'm from.
Yeah, I'd go places, and I'd say something and somebody that didn't know me, be like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "I'm from here." And they're like, "You don't sound like it." And I was like, "I don't know what to tell you." I was like, I've grown up here my whole life, but
Well, what people may not know about you is that you are actually an African American native.
so okay, I was not going to get
well,
into all that.
his father is.
Your
All right.
father is.
So technically speaking, yes, I do not claim to be any part of the African American culture, but my dad was literally born and raised in Africa. So he was an African citizen before he moved to the United States. Then he became an American citizen. So
It's like a whole thing. Like he lived in a mud hut.
he did. He lived in the
And-
backwoods in the jungle. His parents were missionaries. So
So it's actually just African native, not African American native.
Well,
Did I
he-
say that right?
he technically
I don't
is
know.
he technically is African American, but not in the sense that everyone else would associate with that, which is why it's very confusing. So I am very, very white. It's just what I am. Hannah's part Filipino. Jake, you're very
I'm
white.
Whiter than you are.
You're much more than me.
Legitimately.
But yeah, we I don't even know how we got on this.
Well, I just thought, interesting tidbit about you.
Yeah. But people haven't seen our faces, so they don't know what I look like, and they don't
Which
know
we
what
may be bringing to light.
Yeah,
here
we
soon,
have talked about that. We probably will do a little bit more behind the scenes stuff.
just to introduce the team.
But back to our accents, Zach, I think I understand every now and then I'll catch myself when I get like really excited
Mhm.
about something or really mad.
Yeah.
I sound like I'm from the town that we both lived in, but not at the same time.
Yeah.
But out of the three of us, you definitely have the least Southern accent.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I didn't try to not do that. It's just how, I don't know. It just happened.
I'd like
That's how
to know
things
what
happen.
Jake sounds like when he is trying to not sound like he's from the South.
Speaking of that, I've got a note on that type of thing, which I'll talk about in a minute. But
Boy.
speaking of that, the other iTunes review, it was
This
very
is the
It was
one.
complimentary.
This is the one.
It's complimentary to you and I, Jake.
It was
Right.
complimentary
We
to
did it. We
everyone.
did it.
It was like,
That was a high
okay.
five.
As a fellow challenge fan with a few friends that still watch the show, it's awesome to have a podcast where it feels like you're just chatting with other fans. My only criticism
Here we go.
would
Here
be
we go.
Zach frequently correcting Hannah or Jake because they bring something up that he before he wanted them to. It's just kind of annoying. Keep up the good work. Okay.
What's
So-
their name?
It doesn't. Oh, it's just some AMFO 88. I don't know.
AMFO. We've been waiting on someone to say something.
So okay, let me clear the air on that.
My whole marriage, I've been
Okay,
waiting on someone to
okay.
say that.
So when we started this podcast, we kind of were just, especially episode 0. If you go back, we
Even
had
episode 1, I would say.
yeah, we
too.
had notes, but we were kind of all over the place. And as we went along, we tried to consciously make an effort to be more structured,
Except for boys' night.
except for boys' night. Which
Boys Night is its own entity. Okay,
It might
is
hap-
what it is.
when it happens, we just let it just moves in us and through us, and it's what happens.
There's so much emotional weight when
So-
we have Boys Night. That it
So,
just-
so going back to that, we have how we do our show. I make notes beforehand of some things I want to hit up top, which is what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we watch the show, we all three take notes. We don't really discuss too much about like in depth on the notes, but we need to kind of have some sort of an outline because we didn't want to feel two things. We didn't want to waste the listeners' time having like going just kind of rambling, going off, and hey, here's another 2.5 hour podcast. But we also don't want to waste our own time because we're recording this. It's after 10 o'clock right now. By the time it gets up, it's going to be after midnight. We work normal jobs. We get up in the mornings. So, we wanted to be conscious of that. The only, if I do try to correct or say like, hey, let's wait on that, it's because we've all kind of collectively said, hey, we need to be more structured and be more mindful of,
The listener's time.
Yeah.
No, and you're right, and you do a good job of that. You're,
I
you're a
feel-
great host. For someone who has never done anything like this, you do a great job. Would you agree?
You're so good at everything you do.
Man.
Well, I mean,
You're so handsome,
I won't say
And-
that.
why
and
won't
you're
you
just
say that?
It's not my place.
talented.
Oh, I would. Why can't you say that?
That's not my place.
Okay. Well,
What do you want me to say?
you're speaking with your mind, not your heart, right now.
That's right.
I'll give you my heart later.
Jake,
when we get done with this
you're a
podcast.
different person tonight.
You know
So
what, guys?
So if I do say like, hey, let's hold off on something, or we're gonna talk about that later, it's because after the episode airs, we get together and say, hey, we have 3 or 4 talking points. Like, we all have individual notes, but we say, just for some semblance of structure in the show, like, hey, we're gonna hit this, and we're gonna end on our normal segment. And so I try to stick to that, and also try to move things along as possible. Again, we're all new to this. I'm not doing it in a demeaning way if it comes across that way. It's just because we've all previously talked about, hey, we're going to hit this later. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
We're trying to make it a more bearable listen.
Trying to. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've listened to some that are off the rails, which I don't mind if I know that going in.
Sometimes.
Yeah, if I know that going in that it's going to be kind of like that, I don't mind it. But
There are times where I listen to a podcast that is not structured in any way. And
with me or on your own?
both.
Yeah, I was about to say some of them.
Both. But also where, they have no structure. They have no idea no plan on what they're going to do. They
Yeah.
just show up and they're like, okay, let's start talking. And it feels like it's just going on and on and on. And it's hard to listen to. And usually I just turn it off.
I feel like if you're a comedian or you have some sort of a following or a live audience, you can get away with that. We are none of those things. Next week we have a mini live audience just because your brothers are going to be here, Jake.
That's right.
They're not participating, just as a shadow audience.
They may say hello.
They might.
Just from the couch over here.
So speaking of that, I'm going to move it along.
I was just about to say, we may
cut
be
you guys off.
Yeah.
Stop what you're doing. We've had enough. Now it's time for the next segment.
I like that you're only pointing at Jake, telling him that you've had enough of him.
He's the closest to me.
You don't get my heart now.
So, what are we watching old seasons wise? I know what me and Hannah have been watching because we watch them together. I'll let you go first, Jake. You can
I am on the finale of Battle of the Seasons,
Okay.
which looks
It's
to be
a
a
good
pretty
one.
brutal
It's a good
finale.
one. It's a good finale.
It's a good one.
Which is something I will greatly appreciate because I feel like it's been quite some time since we've had a brutal finale.
We finished that season in the middle of last week sometime, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
that's right.
We had a couple days where neither of us were working, and we were able to kind of knock that out. And so we finished that, and we actually started watching Battle of the Exes 2 with like Mark Long and Robin and some old school people that were coming back.
I was really excited about that because I had never seen Mark.
Yeah.
And I think somebody said something about Mark last week, and I was like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
Now I do. He is real.
Yeah, when she was watching it, she's just like mesmerized. Like, I don't even know what to say about him.
He probably looks better now than he even did then.
I showed-
He pulled up
Yeah.
an Instagram photo that Mark had put up recently, and I'm like, man.
That guy's genetically. I mean, he trains hard, but man,
Yeah, but good Lord, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Hannah's a Mark fan.
I guess she's a fan of his body.
He's like, I've never seen so many muscles on one body.
So we start. Okay, so here's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna throw out a little bit of a teaser. Speaking of, before I get to that, how do you feel about Frank now that you've gotten through most of the season?
Look, man, he's good. He's ready to pop off at any second, and I get where that can be entertaining to watch. But he is very degrading and demeaning.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff.
I didn't like the way they talked to Sam.
They were
Well,
very
when
mean
he
to
It
Sam.
was brutal.
When he was getting on Nani that one time, calling her fat and everything.
Not
and
that, man. He went to a place where he
Oh,
brought
yeah.
up her sister, who's a
Yeah.
heroin addict, and I was like, one, it's great television objectively because it's drama and it causes, but on a personal level, like that is a low blow.
Well, at any time, like his own teammates would try to reason with him, if you don't accept his... I mean, Zach said as much, Zach on the challenge, that if you don't accept his apology, he's done.
Yeah.
And he's going to pop off at you again. And like, this guy has no, like, medium balance or anything. It's just, you're either with me or I hate your guts.
I think, so we've watched him on a couple other ones since then. I think he has seen himself that way. Again, the way he treated Sam
Yeah.
and the way even Zach treated Sam that season, not acceptable.
Right.
I don't know how she put up with what she did. I don't know how she lived with them for 4 months. We didn't watch that Real World season, but I don't.
She had to be mentally tough to live with that and not lose her mind, because she didn't she would fire back at them a couple of times just when they were attacking her in her own defense, but I never saw her lose her mind the way Frank did.
She was the weak link on the team physically, but she probably was stronger mentally than Frank and them, even just because she didn't break during all that. And he the funniest part of that season, maybe not the funniest part, but he went on this rant one time where he was like, I'm not going to be made to look like I'm a crazy person on TV. It's not going to happen. He's punching the couch the whole time. And I was like, well, that's what you look like right now. And
you did it.
I will say as an overall competitor, I do like him.
Right.
I don't think that anything he did was not anything, but the stuff he did towards Sam was unacceptable. You'll see more in the final, just because, again, they're pushing for the money.
That's the hardest time I've seen her have.
I still do. I don't know what it is. I do like him as
a competitor.
He's tough.
Yeah.
And he came in that house and knew that he could get in people's heads and knew he was physically good. And, I mean...
he's in Free Agents, too, though, right?
He is in Free Agents.
So
we just watched that.
We've been watching him in Free Agents.
No, let's not give away in case he goes to that.
No,
way.
that's okay.
Okay.
I'm not. We've been watching him for a couple episodes in Free Agents, and he doesn't seem quite that way.
He definitely seems more subdued.
Like a stronger competitor-wise, but not stirring the pot or yelling at anybody or
also,
losing his mind.
I'll say this. I really like the way he dresses. And
you're a fan of bandanas.
Well, not that, but
when they go out, he's dressed up, and there were a couple times where we both were like, I really like what he's wearing. And
I told Hannah, I was like, he's to me, he's just an attractive man. Just in general, he is.
There you go.
I mean, he's kind of clean cut, but also got a little scruff. She says because he's got big puppy dog eyes.
He does have big brown puppy dog eyes, and it makes him look. If you don't know him beforehand, you're gonna think that this is someone that you can really trust. That's gonna be really nice.
You saw later on in the season, he was really hurt that Marie thought he was because he's like I was really a good
he
friend.
He cried over it.
Right.
I think he's got good side. I think he also has a
crazy
little unstable side. Hopefully he's kind of calmed down. We'll see. I hope he comes back because he's a good competitor.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting to see in Battle of the Seasons how much he loved Marie.
Yeah.
He genuinely thought a lot of her.
So speaking of that, we were talking about accents earlier. If you go back and watch Battle of the Seasons and then
it's Marie's first season.
It's Marie's first season.
A lot of people's first season.
Her accent is so much thicker as just a Staten Island, New York accent. And I'd forgotten that.
And she came on and I was like, why does she sound like that?
She sounds like she is straight up from New York and wants to fight everybody. And I had forgotten that because you see her now and I knew she's from New York, but she doesn't have that overly drawn out accent to me.
Yeah.
And so I will say this is a little bit of a teaser. There's a very specific reason why we
skipped ahead
Battle
to watch
of the Seasons and then stopped watching Exes 2 and went ahead and watched Free Agents. I'm not going to say much more beyond that. I'll just say we have some things coming up. There's for sure 100% reasons why we skipped to those 2 seasons, and that's all I'm going to say. Do you have anything else to add to that?
I think you covered it well.
Okay.
I think we got to give the people what they want.
I just don't.
So I'm telling you.
I don't want to get. I'm not the type of person that wants to tease things and then certain things fall through. I have to explain it later, so I'm going to
be on the lookout.
Going to leave it at that.
Very soon.
Yeah,
very soon.
So
be checking our Instagram page
and Twitter and all that. We push everything.
That's where you will hear and see about it.
So let's get into tonight's episode.
Let's go.
Not as much action as I had expected and hoped for in tonight's episode, but I still was not disappointed with tonight.
I was fine with the episode overall.
A lot of interesting relationship stuff happening in the house, and we can just start off real quick, kind of lightly talking about that.
Okay.
Johnny's clearly warming up to Angela and vice versa.
Yeah.
They're
is
cuddling. They're
kinda
making out.
Do
Interesting.
you
to
guys
see.
think she really is into him, or she's just playing him because she knows she's a rookie and he's good?
I think she probably thinks he's attractive, but I don't think she genuinely likes him. I
Like
think,
if they weren't on the show, they wouldn't be.
I think she is probably doing what a lot of people said Natalie was doing the last season, where she knew that he was known as the strongest competitor, and if you're on his side, you're safe.
And his alliance won't
you're
vote for
gonna
you.
make it pretty far in the game. And I think she saw that as an opportunity, since we all know that Natalie is legitimately out of the picture now.
So the interesting thing about that segment
Mhm.
with them on the little, what do you call that thing?
Cabana.
Just a cabana?
I don't
Is that
know.
what
I
it
don't know.
is? This little
I
bench
think you
looking
have to have an
thing
umbrella to be a cabana.
with the cushion. And
Yeah.
anyway, they're
Just
they're
a
doing their
patio
thing.
couch.
Is Derek H giving them the eyes like he did during the ring challenge?
I think that's just clever editing.
It was really weird
Maybe.
seeing him, but he was standing there alone, staring down.
Okay, so I'll say from my perspective, I do video editing and
Here
stuff
we
for a
go.
living. I looked at the sky behind him, and then the sky when they were out there, it was clearly a different time of day to me. It was much lighter, like the sun was going down, but it wasn't as dark. I think they just wanted to kind of make that narrative push through.
Yeah, I noticed that also.
Yeah.
But still, he
He-
was staring pretty hard at something down there.
Yeah, here's the thing. They may have been out there for a while, and he was staring at them, and that was just the best take they had of him looking down. And so they're just like, screw it, we'll roll with it. I'm not saying he didn't
and
do
hopefully
that.
nobody's going to notice.
Yeah.
Either way, he's giving those eyes when he's I don't even know if you'd call it focus, because he wasn't focused during that challenge, but when his mind is where it is in that sort of moment, those eyes get real heavy. Do you understand?
I mean,
look
I-
at his
I-
eyes.
I know
Go
what
back and look at his eyes. Go
Like
downstairs.
when he was looking for the rings.
I know what you're
Right.
saying. I wouldn't have said heavy as I don't know. He to me, he just looked lost. Like he's like, I'm in over my head. I don't know what to do.
Can we agree he looks heavy and lost?
Okay, heavy and lost.
He looks,
Maybe his heart looks a little
Right.
heavy.
Yeah.
And
okay.
so-
Because we
He's
did find out some stuff.
He's working with his ex too. Yeah,
that's the other thing.
I didn't know. I don't think Hannah knew. I don't know
I
about you.
didn't
no
know.
idea.
We didn't know Derek and Angela were a thing because we don't watch Are You the One.
Right.
Didn't know they were a couple. I knew he was with Tori from the other Dirty 30 or whatever.
I will give him props for not reacting in a way that Cara has with Kyle. Even now, it was a small little clip it in this episode. Clip it?
Yeah.
We're just making up
Boy.
words left and right.
Clip. Small little clip
Snippet.
where
Yeah, that's,
you know,
I think he's looking for snippet.
and it's at the challenge at that point, which we're not going to talk about yet, where she says that,
Don't talk about it.
"Oh, you jerk,"
Just go.
where she just basically says, "I don't want to get rid of Faith because the Kyle thing." And
Yeah,
it's just but anyway, I appreciate. I'll applaud Derek because you know what, he's like, "Oh, wouldn't have expected that."
Didn't someone reach out to us on Twitter when we kind of teased some news coming up? They're like, "Oh, you're just gonna talk about Cara and Kyle for an whole
It was
episode?"
Instagram.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought that was kind of funny.
It was funny.
I will say, I don't think I could bear dedicating an entire episode just talking about.
Not unless someone
Kyle
like
and
breaks
Cara
their
Maria.
arm or something. Like I'm again, we're over.
that's all we'll say about her.
So
The other big relationship that saw a lot of screen time was Kaylee Nelson.
it's not where I thought you were going with that.
Oh, did you not?
No.
Was there another relationship?
Well, I mean,
missed?
this whole episode was kind of centered from the beginning to the end around Brad and Brittany, but we only got stuff at the very beginning and then at the very end.
Right, right.
Everything in between was mostly Kaylee and Nelson.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, real quick on Kaylee and Nelson, I still feel so bad for Nelson every time he talks. It's pitiful. Like, that's the word. Like, I just, because he's clearly into this girl. He said as much tonight, and then she does him the way that she does.
Well, and we know now that he still was like actively pursuing her outside the show.
Yeah.
As of last week, was in London. He got back yesterday, I think, and something happened. Got physical, threw all his stuff out. Ironically, because she got mad about everyone throwing their stuff, and then he was just rooming with Joss, which is weird because that's her ex. And
It just makes me want to like take him out to eat or something, man. And just like,
Like, hey
hey, man,
man,
it's gonna be all right.
do you want to tweet to him like,
Okay.
hey, you want to go out to eat?
we'll take him to like Outback or something.
Yeah, we got a nice Indian restaurant here too, which you can't eat at
because
right.
she's allergic.
I'm
she's allergic to all.
I'm allergic to so many things, and it really sucks. Well, I will say I did make a note on Kaylee. Where did I write? I wrote Kaylee is kind of crazy ?
Yes,
because she Nelson was seen talking. He was sitting down with Faith outside on the patio, and he was talking to her about Kaylee.
Yeah.
And Faith even said in her interview, she was like, I really hope that they can work it out because he clearly, has some really deep feelings for Kaylee. And then Kaylee is over there like 20 feet away with Cam, and she's like, oh, I just hate her guts. I can't believe he's doing that. And then she just loses her mind thinking that Nelson is flirting with Faith, trying to
that was all really
get a move on
confusing
her.
to me because I was like, there's been no history with Faith and Nelson.
And Faith is supposed to be,
Kyle,
with Kyle. So I don't understand.
She's just the mindset of if he's around another woman, like
He's cheating.
He's cheating or talking bad about me, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so
she went off on Nelson twice in this episode, 2 separate incidents, because he was just having a discussion with Faith.
Again, we haven't watched their UK seasons of things. From the little I read on Reddit going back, people say she's nuts. Like, legitimately, I don't want to say too much bad about her because it's secondhand information to me. But they're like, if you watched her on the UK shows, like, she's not stable. And, like, they're like, it's really ironic that for the American audiences, she's, like, playing up, oh, I don't mess with bullying and all that. And then they're like, she bullied people all the time in the British shows. So,
as Jake was saying earlier, I just feel bad for Nelson. I feel like he's just head over heels for her. And, the old phrase, blinded by love, I think that he kind of is and doesn't see her crazy side.
Since we're talking about you feel bad for Nelson, before we really get into the full-on Brittany and Brad thing, I did make a note about him. I was like, I got genuinely sad watching him at the top of the show talking about him and Brittany and how it's falling apart and how he doesn't have any money. We know, he's
just gone through a divorce.
We
and
know
obviously Tori's going to get a lot of money.
They got 2 kids.
She has the kids.
So he's probably paying child support because we know just from other things he has them on certain weekends and all that. So yeah, he probably doesn't have very much money. But when he's talking about I'm on a budget and whatever, and I made an effort to get her a birthday gift, and it cut to the producers like, what'd you get her? He's like, oh, it's just I got her this necklace. And I was
said,
just like,
just a necklace.
I was like, man, this is really bumming me out.
But he said it in such a way where to him it was a big deal.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is.
And I bet it was a really nice one too, because when they asked, he said it was just a necklace.
He tried to kind of downplay it, but at the same time,
it was probably kind of expensive.
Okay, to me,
say what's on your heart.
Zach said in the last season, you're going to really regret a lot of the things you're doing. And I think we're at that point now with him.
Yeah. It's come full circle.
He was very clearly last season in a bad place and was in a hurt place.
He had recently split from his wife, who he had done these challenges with and won with.
And he, their whole separation, I don't want to speculate on relationships like that because this is it's a messy subject because there's kids involved and all that. It could have been 100% his fault. Could have been 100% Tori's fault. Doubt it. Usually it works. There's 50-50 on both sides. So the fact that he was very clearly in a not good place.
Not stable.
He looked unstable last season. Everyone saw it in his eyes.
It was my first impression of Brad seeing him.
Because you've never seen old seasons.
I'd never seen him before. And they bring him out and I'm like, this guy looks like a maniac. How are you guys such big fans of him?
But he doesn't look the same this season, does he?
No, he looks way more...
And we would even tell you as much,
yeah.
He's a good dude. When you watch him on past seasons, you'd be like, man, Brad just seems like a genuinely good guy. And
other than that one time on Cutthroat when he got real drunk and tried to fight Darrell.
And then Johnny said tonight,
I made a note about that, yeah.
Brad's a really good dude, and
it was him and Amanda were talking, right?
I think so.
And Amanda's like, man, he just needs to get over Brittany, move on, because this is a bad thing. And Johnny's like, Brad is genuinely a really good guy, and this is messing up his life and all that. And I was like, they're right.
It's being plastered all over national television.
And again, on one hand, I feel for him because he's probably in a really dark place, and he just was looking for something to feel reciprocated love from someone. I think it was misdirected, misguided, and I think obviously it seems like it blew up. We know from Twitter and whatever else this week that, spoiler, they're no longer together. But I think we all saw that coming. He looked unstable, out of place last season. This season he seems much more in a. It's crazy how much his eyes changed, and I don't know what it is, but
there's a softness to it.
Yeah, like he looks like a guy you'd want to be friends with now.
And I said this in last week's episode. I said he's starting to look more like the old Brad.
Yeah.
Because now that we've gone through the older seasons where he first comes in, I've gotten to see him, a lot more. When he was younger, my goodness, he was a good competitor, but he was just a great guy.
He's everybody's friend. Nobody hated him.
He's somebody that I genuinely would have wanted to be friends with.
Yeah, nobody hated him on those old shows. So the one quick note before we jump into the main challenge tonight, I wrote way before, I think Johnny almost said it word for word. Oh, no, he said he wanted to be there when Brad FaceTimed Brittany. I wrote like 10 minutes into the show, I was like, FaceTime is going to change things for us. Because we've seen where they've had to make awkward phone calls.
Yeah.
Like John A. had to do it one season with her boyfriend. He was really sad.
Oh my goodness.
And
what was that? Battle of the Seasons? It was Zach's first season, and John A. had met Zach, and
which is weird. That's a weird relationship.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
The classic. I've known you for 5 minutes, and I'm ready to throw away everything.
Yeah,
for
and
you.
so that's the thing. So she goes and kisses Zach, and she's like, one, I don't know that she told Zach that she had a boyfriend at home.
I don't know.
So after that happens, she goes and Jasmine's like, you've got to make a decision. And so she's like, you know what? I'm just going to go break up with my boyfriend that's waiting for me at home. So she calls him, and you can hear him on the other side of the phone. And he's like, I'm so glad that you called. I miss you so much. It, like, you could hear the joy in his voice.
And I was like, oh no.
And like, I think I audibly said, oh no. Yeah. And then she's like, we got to break up. And he goes, what? And like, you could hear it hurt me to hear that conversation.
I mean, there's been a ton of those through the years, even on the Real World. I think like Nani Nani had to do that on their Real World season with.
She was in the Bad Boy Adam.
Yeah, that's who got kicked off.
Ew.
Whatever. I forgot that's who it was. But
we can say this about John A. She's no Jenna.
No.
And that's why watching that entire season, I was like, this is wrong. He is supposed to be with Jenna. This is not supposed to be happening. It's not right.
Yeah, Hannah, I didn't realize that Jenna's only been on the show since like 2015.
Yeah.
She's only done...
Like Zach started in 2012, Battle of the Seasons.
She's only done like, 6 seasons?
Yeah, I mean, again, seasons are weird because they don't translate to years. So when we tell someone has been on for 33 seasons, they're like, what are you talking about? I've never even heard of this show. And I was like, well, I mean, it didn't start till like 2003, but...
that's a long time.
They do basically 2 a year. And so, yeah, I had forgotten Zach and John A. were a thing, and, there was a couple other.
It made me uncomfortable to watch. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, it's not to talk too much about that season, but she made a thing like, I really need this money, and I was like,
yeah, she was like, I need it more than anybody else. And I was like, yeah, everybody says that. But then she goes in.
She's like, I'm homeless.
And she's like, I don't have anywhere to go once I leave. Once I leave here, she's like, I don't have a home to go to. I'm homeless. And I was like, oh, crap.
I'll say this about all the relationships, and then we can move to the daily challenge. Is to quote Ashley Banks, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I was like, who is Ashley Banks?
Her number 1 single, which I think it was portrayed as in the show. You got to make up your mind. You remember?
Can you sing a line from it?
Nope.
You're afraid of copyright?
I am.
Okay.
Did you hear the song?
Where she was like performing on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the song.
And I think Will's like her manager.
Yeah. She performed in like a cafeteria.
And she's got like this cutoff shirt, and Uncle Phil comes in. He's not too happy initially, and
he's the voice of Shredder on the Ninja Turtles.
I did.
Okay.
But she had a real revelational statement, and it kind of make up your mind.
I really wish you could sing part of it.
Gotta make up up your mind.
So I just want to
Okay.
point out.
You
No,
can't
hold
do
on.
any more
You
than that
can't-
because we can't
I wanna-
afford to
no,
pay for
no,
the copyright.
I want to point out you were 100% lying when I asked you the first time if you could sing it just because you didn't want to.
I don't want to sing it, but you're being a jerk again. You made me sing it.
That's it.
The people were right about you.
I make you sing every episode. You don't want to.
They were right about you.
You know what? It is what it is.
You're the biggest jerk in this room.
I'm 29 years old. I'm not changing my ways.
Unfortunately.
What you got is what you got.
Well, I gave you a song. The people have a song. Now let's move on.
All right. So we need to move on to shark bait.
Shark
Before
bait.
that,
Oh. We clearly said we're going to the next
I had
part.
one thing that I really, really wanted to say
Okay.
before we jumped in. Tonight,
Mhm.
my first note for tonight's episode,
Oh, yeah.
Kyle spoke directly to the camera to send a message to Polly. That's the first time I've ever seen that on this show.
Yeah, he broke the fourth wall. You're not supposed to look at the camera.
But he made a point. He turned his whole body to face the camera, and he sent a message to Polly. And I was like, man,
I think that's probably because they really don't, those people don't know how the viewing in the Redemption House goes. And I think at the beginning of the episode, were Jose and like Devon and them, like Davon, were they like lying to people about how much they got to watch? Because they're like, we
Okay.
rewound it and whatever.
Yeah, I had that note. She went directly to the vet girls, and she's like, yeah, the Redemption House, we had this room where we got to see everything that went on in the house.
Which is not true.
Not true at all. But that made all the other girls freak out. They're like, what did you see? And she's like, oh, we could rewind it, we could pause it, we could zoom in.
When she was talking to Tori and Cara and I think Marie.
And
right?
Marie was in
Yeah.
there. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then Tori asked her, she's like, did you guys get to do that every day? And she's like, no, we got to watch every other day. And my middle note was, we only saw them go in there once, right?
As far as we know, that's all that's happened. It could have been every other day, but I don't think they had the ability
don't
to
think
rewind
so.
and all that stuff.
Also, it's just going to be house drama.
Who cares?
I mean, there hasn't been much to see
No.
other than the one fight that Kayla and Melissa had.
Which is what they showed them.
Yeah.
Um,
But so far, there hasn't been any other like groundbreaking information that the Redemption House would have an advantage to know about.
not really. I'm still confused. Like, it's like they have all these ideas and then they like teased them, and we're 5 episodes in and we've seen it one time. And so we'll see. I think again as the season goes on, it'll get more concise and we'll see more and more of things. So
I do also think that it was really funny that right before the challenge, CT and Veronica were talking, and he's begging her to work out and go to bed early.
yeah,
That was really funny to me.
I did make a note about CT wanting to go to bed early when the sun was still out.
Yeah.
And
Which we've assumed this
to,
whole time.
and
Yeah,
to,
this-
to stop drinking wine so much.
yeah, this whole time he's like, please, he's like, just let's go work out. Don't drink tonight. We'll
And she has a glass of wine in her hand.
we'll go to bed early. And she's
Yeah,
like, I'm not
and-
doing that.
And then he's like, well, she goes to go back in the house, and he's like, did you work out today? And she goes, no. And he's like, are you going to work out later? And she's like, probably not today. And he's like, see, that's what I'm talking to you about.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
I can't imagine how frustrating it is to have her as a partner.
I've said from the beginning, I was like, that partnership sucks for him. Because let's jump in. Shark bait. Been teasing it. Shark bait's the title.
So apparently they're at the worldwide capital of great white sharks or something.
The bay or whatever they're in. Yes.
Yeah, and they're like doing a water challenge, so that's going to freak everybody out. But you know that they have some kind of netting or something in the water to keep the sharks away.
Or that number is like per capita, and they're like nowhere near. Who cares? It's just a tactic to scare people.
Yeah.
It scared me.
It did. You
Yeah,
you
you
held
were
my
sweating
hand during
bullets.
it,
I held my heart during it.
and my hand. Both.
You've
You're
got
right.
2 hands, Jake.
You're right.
Yeah, you did both. So yeah, we saw it start out. I think Zach and Amanda were the first team. Who was the other one they were going against? Was it Josh?
It was Josh
It was
and
Josh and
Sylvia.
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 Yeah, because I knew the first note I made was that Josh just left Sylvia.
Yeah,
he got her on the
He
first
changed,
one.
he changed partners.
He didn't turn around and try to help her at all, and she was clearly struggling. It was hard to watch her
I'm not
do
being-
this challenge.
I'm not being demeaning to her, really. Other than Veronica, she's probably the least like physically.
In shape.
Not even that, just like genetically, like she's not like dominating to me. Like Veronica.
She's no Laurel.
Oh yeah, or Naya even Naya.
Hurricane Naya.
Yeah, Naya's basically Laurel 2.0, but got in trouble for fighting. But yeah, I think Sylvia, Joss is arguably the most in shape person on the show.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And so she's just playing catch up with him. And so he gets her on the first one, and then he just he never looks back. He just goes.
No, he didn't even turn to see if she made it any further. He just keeps going.
Zach was trying to help Amanda, it seemed, and he just tired out and fell.
He made it to what, the fourth rope? Because she was on the third one.
I think it counts by the last person when you fall. So
so she was on the third one. He was on the fourth rope.
They got 3.
And then he fell, and I wrote, that was really disappointing. I really expected him to make it at least a lot further, if not all the way.
It was kind of disappointing at first, but after seeing how everyone else did, he made it farther than most of the people. I mean, if you really look, there's only 2 teams that completed it, right?
It was
Brad and Kyle
and Johnny and Tony.
They were the only 2 that completed it. Everyone else fell at some point. And I will say Zach got further than most of the other teams.
Well, and like we mentioned, he was holding up there for a while to try to help her out.
Yeah, he was waiting.
And then she just went through on her own and greeted Joss at the end.
Yeah, Joss helped her get up.
Yeah,
and
then
I'm
they kind of kissed on the platform.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird to me because, last week's episode, he mention how he regretted kissing her, or maybe that was on.
I can't keep up anymore.
I do think that I brought this up. He either said it in an interview or he did it on his live Instagram story with Kaylee.
Oh, the thing
I can't remember which one it was. Paul, can you check that for me? Because I really think I keep getting it wrong and I can't remember which one it is.
We haven't been asking Paul for things. So yeah, they did that. I don't know if it was next or the 2 rounds from there, whatever. CT and Veronica go.
This is where
it was absolutely pitiful.
Became very clear that CT's been talking for a while about how they're the layup team, and look, the challenge.
He's never been in that position,
right? So the first daily challenge they had, I don't know that you could really look at that and be like, "Yep, they're for sure a layup," because it,
I think it was Derek and Tori that were the layup team for that challenge.
But just in general, like going forward, I just don't.
Zach and Amanda did the worst, actually.
Yeah,
that's right.
I don't know that you could say from that challenge that they were for sure the layup team, but
he knew in his heart they were.
This made it clear that Veronica this season may very well be Casey level.
I think
bad.
she is over the hill challenge wise.
Yes,
I don't
absolutely,
even
100%.
I don't even think she had any sort of grip at any point when jumping onto that.
She did not make it past the first stake.
Right, but if she was on that stake for even a second, I don't think she was.
No,
she immediately fell.
It was awful. And CT, he had a right to be upset. He's been telling her this whole time, hey, you're not taking this seriously. You're not preparing. Clearly,
and she's arguing and then going to everybody else in the house playing the victim card, saying he is just telling me how I'm not taking this seriously, and he's just so mad at me for no reason. But she's still just holding another glass of wine, just laying on the couch, or in sweatpants and her little fuzzy slippers. I
didn't notice that.
I made a note. CT is begging her to try to work out with him.
Show any heart.
Yeah, to show any initiative, to show him or anybody else in the house that she's even going to at least try. And Joss and Sylvia, Joss, the gym trainer of the house, he had her out there.
She was out there a couple times.
And she was pushing herself. And she even told him a couple times, he's like, this is a short part. She's like, this is not the short part. And he's like, I just need you to do it. And she's like, okay.
Yeah,
and they're working out together. She's doing her best.
What I was saying about Sylvia earlier, it's not a lack of effort on her end.
To quote John Roser, what do you do? Our guy, Joan Roser.
Joan Rivers.
Boy.
Our guy, Joan Rivers.
My speech is off tonight.
Well,
you got your K
you
right.
spelled the K right. You're okay. I will say, CT clearly upset. Didn't even want to talk to her.
Rightfully so.
We get
it.
Didn't say a word to her until hours into the Redemption House, maybe.
I mean, that we saw, yeah. So we'll come back. We'll circle back around to CT and them. The rest of the challenge, most of them are most people failed after 1 to 3 ropes, I think.
I thought it was surprising to see that Shane made it all the way across.
Did he? I don't even remember.
Nelson fell about halfway through,
That's
and
right.
Shane's like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can make it all the way through. And he does. And I was like, wow, that's really impressive. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, I remember the only other one I want to hit on before we kind of get to who was the better teams. Tori and Derek, who Derek sucked again.
Oh, my goodness.
Man.
Again, looks like he should be a phenomenal athlete. Doesn't prove that at all.
It was so disappointing.
Tori was flipping him off on the way down.
Yeah, when
And they
when
showed the
she
replay.
fell.
And
Derek doesn't flip people off.
he flicks you off.
He flicks
He's
you
like,
off.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll flick you off right now. And I told you guys, I was like, I'm pretty sure he said flicking, and we rewound it. And he definitely does. He's like, I'll flick you off right now.
To your face.
Yeah, and again, he has nothing to, like, he should not be mad at her at all. Only be mad at himself.
And Derek, are you talking about Derek?
Yeah.
Yeah, Derek.
Are you-
At this point, it's kind of funny, but also kind of sad. He's not upset with Tori. He's like, yeah,
He's not good.
I messed it up, but we're gonna get it next time. And I'm like, you're not taking this seriously either.
So far, he has done nothing to show that he's good at these challenges.
And it's disappointing.
He's in really good shape. He really is.
But he's still giving Tori and anybody else that has anything to say about it the whole, let him talk.
Yeah.
Let him talk.
Yeah, and they are talking, and you're not showing them anything.
So
I mean-
he's convinced he's great. And that's the saddest thing to watch.
If you're going to be in the mindset of let him talk, you got to back it up on your own and not worry about it. But they haven't come anywhere close to winning anything.
Yeah.
The one quick note during this elimination, or not elimination, but the challenge,
We noticed.
we saw Johnny has this giant line around his neck.
It's like a scar.
And so I got on Twitter during the show, and Johnny said that it actually goes back to the ring challenge. He got some of that fishing line like wrapped around his neck at some point.
Which is terrifying.
Yeah. And he kind of made a joke that Angela was choking him. But it definitely, it was a little line like that. It looked like someone tried to slit his throat.
Yeah. During the daily challenge, it looked like a fresh scab.
Yeah. I wonder
And
how
then-
much time was between the two.
I don't know, because in his interview, it wasn't so much as a scab, but it was definitely looking like a scar.
Who knows? Yeah. I speaking of bananas, him and Tony made it across. They were good. I mean, they're a solid team. They're gonna be hard to
They're
beat.
going to be good.
I think Tony thinks that he is at Bananas level. I don't think he is. I think I did write down that it was a big sign to me that Bananas let Tony go first and like lead the way.
Bananas to this point has really kind of taken a back seat.
Yeah, and
Just in
that
general.
was my point. Is like years ago he never
No.
he had such a big ego that he'd be like, I don't care who you think you are, I'm gonna go across.
But I think after, maybe he had to watch what happened last year for himself, like when it aired, to see Tony's side of it. And Tony has always felt like he's been in Bananas' shadow. And so, Johnny even said in his interview, he's like, you know what, I'm going to take a step back. I want Tony to feel like he is leading this team for today's challenge. So maybe it'll help him feel better.
They did good.
And they did really well.
What I say, my reaction to Tony, I don't dislike Tony. He seems like a nice guy.
I love Tony as a person.
He definitely has made some mistakes relationship wise in the past. I hope he's over all that.
He and Alyssa are doing very well.
Okay. Well, I it's clearly challenge related. He has made one power move the entire time. Other than the last season, he was considered a guy that you didn't have to worry about. Last season was the first time he really kind of took a step forward, and I get why he did what he did. I think it was the right move for the time to send Johnny in, because clearly Johnny went home last season because Devin took him out, which we still haven't seen him or the Mercenaries. But what I will say is Tony, to me, thinks he's a lot better than what he is right now.
I see that.
I don't know if that's just my perspective. I think he thinks that he is on the same level as Bananas and CT and some of them, and he's definitely on his way up, but he's done nothing. He's not won anything, has he? Paul will know, but
No,
Paul,
he was in the final last season.
which again, he made the right move to send Johnny home, but he didn't even come.
Was that his first final?
I think so.
Paul, check us on that.
Yeah.
And he performed extremely well all season. Like
Yeah.
he won, I think, a few daily challenges. So he's definitely. I don't think he's bad by any means.
No. But I don't think he's at the level he thinks he is. Which maybe that's what he needs to do. He could be like Derek, but let him talk. I know where I'm at.
Yeah.
Fine.
But Tony can say let him talk because he can at least compete pretty well.
Oh yeah, he's nowhere near like. I'm not even insinuating he's the same as Derek.
No.
So they were the great team, but I mean, I tweeted from our account tonight. Clearly, to me, Brad and Kyle are the team to beat. So far in
Absolutely.
the dailies, they killed the ring challenge. They killed this challenge.
They're an absolute powerhouse.
You know what it reminds me of? Their team dynamic, because they're getting along really well.
Yeah.
It's Johnny and Tyler, rivals one.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Because they started getting along really, really well.
They had a history though. They were on The Real World together.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did get along. That's the thing. I in that same tweet, I was just like, make sure if you fight with anyone that they're a really good competitor. And then they did the hashtag pray for CT, which is what MTV put up on the episode at one point tonight when he was upset about Veronica. Because again, if MTV really likes pairing people with people they don't like. Pick a fight with someone that's great. If you suck, if you're Derek, go after Johnny. Try to get in his head, so maybe you'll be on a season together down the road. That's my perspective on it.
I think it's a good move.
Yeah, absolutely.
They killed it. They're gonna have some sort of advantage in the next challenge. We don't know what that means.
Yeah, they didn't say what it was.
No. So the only other real thing after this challenge night, it was a purge challenge. So CT Veronica went to the Redemption House, not home, but to the Redemption House.
And this was probably the biggest talking point tonight.
Oh,
right?
for sure. And we're so far in, and we haven't even really hit it.
So there's a few things that I want to ask you guys about.
Okay.
Because it feels like CT has reached a breaking point with this Veronica thing.
Yeah.
And my first question to you guys is, when's the last time we had a CT blow up? Because tonight,
it's been a while.
I would consider a blow up.
I agree, especially
he threw a chair
over the last few seasons, post DM, post his brother, all that. He has significantly calmed down.
I think his son has a lot to do with that too.
Probably, and just growing up in general.
He's an old fart now. I'm just kidding.
We have not seen that side of him, and actually, one of our followers, Mary, who's a big challenge fan, tweeted something during the show. Is Angry CT making a return? And then did all the hashtags for the challenge. And
that's a good question.
I was just like, I hope so. And did Stephen Colbert crossing his fingers a lot? And I agree. I think it would be great because she said it would be epic and
it'd be good TV.
It would be good TV, but I get it. I understand his side 100%.
I side with CT, not just because I'm a big CT fan, but also I think if I were this big iconic challenge champion and I was a really, really good competitor and I'm paired with someone who doesn't give but maybe 30% on every challenge and just wants to socialize and hang out.
She doesn't put in the work during the off season.
Yeah.
No.
Like she clearly, and to be fair, I'm not going to hit her too hard. I know just from following her on Twitter and stuff, she's going through a lot of family stuff right now.
I can understand
her mom's
that.
in the hospital, and there's some, I want to say cancer stuff involved.
Mm-hmm. I've been there several times. Which
is horrible. Obviously, that's going to weigh on you more than other things. But clearly, when they filmed this, she was in a place where she felt she could go off and whatever. She had a quote tonight that she's like, I want to win. And I just wrote, it was like, she wants to win, but she doesn't want to do anything. Everyone wants to win, but she doesn't want to put in the work to do it.
Yeah.
And it's all about the preparation when nobody's looking.
Now you're talking.
That's it.
Now you're talking. You're not just talking, you're preaching.
That's it. It's not what you do in the light when everyone's looking at you. It's what you do in the dark when no one's around.
Somebody felt that just now.
Here we go.
It's probably Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, he felt it.
He may like you now.
Yeah. Well, we're good.
Yeah, are we talking Paulie or Stat Checker Paul?
No, we're friends with Stat
Paulie
Checker
doesn't
Paul.
like you.
Paulie probably does not because I don't think he likes anyone other than Cara. But
so CT went into this season knowing with Veronica it was going to be
an struggle,
uphill battle. Yeah,
an absolute struggle.
And it's funny because him and Shane are out on the deck talking, and Shane's kind of trying to go to bat for her, and he says something along the lines of, I think you and Veronica are going to be a great team. She's in great shape. And CT's just like, is she?
Yeah.
And so it's weird, man. We've never seen CT in this kind of role,
No.
and it's funny because it's made him also like a comical character.
Well,
because during the challenge, he is yelling at all of the competitors.
That was
Yeah, I made a note about that,
I
too.
meant to talk about that. That was the funniest part of the episode. Was when he knows they sucked so bad, his only chance is to try to get in Jose's head.
And he did.
And to make
he
other
did.
people suck as bad. And so he's like psyching them out. TJ blows the horn, and it's Jose and Davon's first actual challenge.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
And so TJ blows the horn, and then CT yells out, "Whoa, wait, not yet!"
Because he knows he can't swim.
And Jose looks over at CT with like really big eyes, and you can hear Angela go to Faith, and she's like, "Are we not supposed to go yet?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to wait?" And so they both waited and stood there
That's
while
smart.
CT is
Yeah.
yelling out, "Wait, not yet! It's not right."
Too close.
I will say it's funny when Jose did fall. He swam like
he was trying to take flight.
When you swim, you do one arm after the other. I'm demonstrating it
like
to you
in
guys.
front of your body. He's
To me,
He's flapping.
flapping his
have you ever-
arms to like.
well, okay. From my perspective, have you ever seen anyone that's like broken both their arms and they cast them in like an L shape?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
where they're upright, like a field goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like a referee does a field
The way
goal.
he swam was he was moving both arms in unison like this, and he was just like clawing at the.
Yes, our
air.
podcast listeners can see like this
Yeah.
what this looks like.
They get it.
Yeah, he had his hand. He had his
weird.
hands out to his sides instead of in front of him, and he's just slapping the top of the water.
I think Johnny said he paid like $2,000.
$2,000.
Yeah, because he apparently had a drowning incident on Chance
Which
vs.
we still haven't
Stars.
watched.
We still haven't watched it, but we did get to see a clip of that where
Yeah.
he is in a pool and he doesn't have a life jacket on and he's starting to drown, which he wasn't.
You can
it
hear
didn't seem like he was too far away from the bottom.
You can hear somebody on the sidelines was like, "Is he serious right now?"
Yeah.
But at least in this, he's got a life jacket on, and he said that he did get swimming lessons after Chance vs. Stars to help prepare for this season, and it didn't look any different. But Johnny said he's like apparently he paid like $2,000 for these swimming lessons, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look like it.
I'd like to meet his swimming instructor. How you get away with making $2,000 and making a guy look like that?
I will say I still don't mind Jose as a person.
I haven't
so
seen
let me-
anything to make me dislike him.
I feel like I have to say, a little more about him because I went into this season just like completely out on him, having watched Chance vs. Stars. So there was one thing he did tonight that moved me.
To tears?
No, but enough to hold my heart and to hold your hand. And so he's talking to Brad because this is Brad in his broken state.
Yeah,
right?
he was very vulnerable at
Very
that point.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
And what I appreciated about Jose is like he was legitimately upfront about everything. And they're doing these interviews and they're like, we're going to take this information and use it to our advantage. And he was like real straightforward and honest. And I've said before, I appreciate honesty.
Yeah.
And the guy was very straightforward about like, no, she didn't like have sex with him or anything, but like,
If it was his girlfriend, he would be upset.
yeah, there was
Yeah.
there was definitely stuff there that I was like, man, if I'm Brad, that's a no-go for me and I'm out.
And I'm sorry, he even made the point that he was like, and it was nothing, like, he's like, Chuck was doing stuff like bringing her coffee to try to mend their team relationship.
Yeah.
He's like, he was not interested in this
Right.
at all. And he's like, but from her side, he's like, he's like, I'm just letting you know, if it was my girlfriend, it would be enough to end things.
Walking around without any clothes on in
Yeah.
front of him.
But like that was the thing. I noticed that Brad came to him because Jose was the only person from the Redemption House that was back in the main house now, other than Davon. But Davon was talking to the girls. So Brad came to him and he told Jose, he said, obviously, Paulie was just trying to get in my head, and he's like, I can't trust what he says.
Which is smart.
So he's like, I need to talk to her and get her side of it. But also, I would like to know the truth. And so Jose, he could have lied to him and gotten Brad a little more, off focus from the game. But he told him the truth. He's like, he shifted the blame away from Chuck.
Yeah.
Because Chuck didn't do anything. But
I don't think Chuck wanted anything to do with it.
no. Chuck knows that Brittany's crazy,
Yeah.
and so he doesn't want to get back in that. But I think it was really nice of Jose to sit with Brad in his vulnerable state and just be honest with him and tell him, hey, that didn't happen, but she was behaving in a way that, you don't want your girlfriend behaving around her ex.
I will say when that situation was like playing itself out, I was like, I wonder if he's going to fully go all in on the Big Brother alliance because they're all rookies, they're new to this. I was like, he might just back Pauly and be like, yeah, man, you don't know what happened. He's like,
he
I
could
saw
have
it.
done that.
He could have. I appreciate that he didn't because, again, you could tell, just even though Brad knows he's on camera, whatever, you could tell, like, there was genuine, like, it was weighing on him.
It was hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I did appreciate that. I think everything he said was truthful. And I don't think he spoke out of line on anything in that situation, which he
No.
could have easily to try to, because again, Brad and Kyle are a good team.
Yeah.
It would benefit
Everyone.
Jose and everyone else in the house to get him, off focus. And so, again, we saw, I'm going to kind of jump ahead chronologically in the episode. We saw Brad at the very end call Brittany on FaceTime, which
he
again,
FaceTimed her on an iPad,
yeah.
which we've never seen that before.
And he's like, I got 5 minutes to call her. And he calls, she answers, and she's so happy. He's like, ah! And he's like, oh
she's
my God.
she's legitimately like jumping around.
The way he said, oh my God, was so funny knowing the situation.
Do it. Give us your, oh my God.
Okay, so from his perspective, he knows I'm coming into this with all this information from Jose. Even though it wasn't what Pauly said, I've got to break things off. I know it's what's good for me right now, for my family, all that.
And he did say, I believe in his interview, stat check me, Paul, you might need to. It was either...
You're putting Stat Check Paul to work
I know.
tonight.
He's
Look
got
at you.
Yeah, we want him involved in this. It was either right before or right after his discussion with Jose. Brad said in his solo interview that he was going to break up with Brittany regardless.
I don't remember I just don't personally remember that, but
Yeah, he said that he was just going to break things off with her anyway.
When he called, and she was, because from her end, she doesn't know all that happened.
She doesn't know that he knows anything
And-
other than what Pauly
Yeah.
yelled out at the end.
And so she's super excited. They're probably still in South Africa at this point. She is, because we've seen like her and Jenna and some other people are out doing things in South Africa. She is so excited, and he knows that he's about to like break things off, and he doesn't know how to respond back, and he just, oh my God. and we just,
Oh my God.
yeah, we rewound it a couple times, and like he starts to lay it out, and then it pauses on like a very unflattering picture of
Oh
her.
my goodness, it was not a good picture.
I mean,
I will say it sucks that we didn't actually get to see the conversation this
They're
week.
teasing it for next week.
I know.
if your face could sink into your head, that's what she did. It was pretty wild looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like right before it ended, he was trying to get her to listen to him. He's like, this is serious. I need
Yeah.
to talk to you.
And I
And
told
her
you,
face fell.
I told you to grab a picture of it real
I did
quick.
get a picture.
Yeah.
We may throw that up on
It's a good one.
Instagram or
I think
Twitter.
that is social media worthy.
Okay. I did get one. Yeah, so we've kind of hit them. I want to go back to CT coming
Yeah.
into the Redemption House.
Yeah.
We're running long already, but there's a lot, I think, to talk about tonight. Before we get into them, when they walk into the house,
I know where you're going.
Natalie had the most absurd reaction I think I've ever seen on this show. My only thoughts were, one, they had already walked in the room and for some reason didn't film it, and they're like, hey, come back out, we got to refilm this part. Or she is just a lunatic when she's asleep. Because if you watch that clip when Veronica walks in the room after they poured wine and CT hasn't talked to her and all that.
Veronica slaps her foot really hard.
Well, so she walks in, Pauly's sitting there. Pauly doesn't say a word.
He just looks at her.
He is sitting up in his bed. Every light in the house is on, and he doesn't say a word. And Veronica walks around the bed and then hits Natalie's leg. Pauly still doesn't say anything. And Natalie was just
She's got a pillow over her head.
Yeah, she's covered in like a duvet and some other stuff. She just immediately, without seeing who it is or know who's touching her,
doesn't
or
move the
anything,
pillow yet.
She's just like, oh my God, no.
No.
And then she sits up, takes the pillow off, turns and faces Veronica, and she goes, no, how?
Yeah.
Why now? How
I was
now?
like-
No, how? No.
That was so like, I was so confused by that. I was like, that is not how anyone reacts to anything.
I know, and I was like, what is going on?
At first, I was like, maybe she was just like really asleep, but why would someone touching your leg make you go, no, how?
You know, do you ever have those dreams where you're falling?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe this was like the culmination. She was falling in her dream, and she's about to hit the ground, and as soon as Veronica
And so
smacks
she-
her
so
leg,
she
it's
just
no!
So she just rolls with it, and she's like, no, how did you get here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not going to give her the benefit of that doubt.
I don't necessarily want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but you
I
know,
think the situation, this surrounding circumstances, it's very weird. I will say the fact that Polly doesn't speak and the way that she acts without seeing anything, I really think it was a reshoot.
Yes, I think it was staged.
well, you're the video
that
expert guy
that was
here.
how I felt about it.
Because one, if Veronica walks in into that room and Polly doesn't know she's there, he'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
Yeah.
He wouldn't. I mean, he's crazy. I don't think he would just like sit in his bed and not say anything and just stare at her, and then let her touch Natalie. And no, how? Like it's so weird. The whole situation is very weird.
Another weird thing is Polly was like half excited, half not excited
Well,
to see CT.
We found out he said CT's my idol.
He's fanboying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big time.
so one, he's excited to actually meet CT in the flesh, but also he has to know that CT is going to be his competition to get out of the Redemption House. So you know he's kind of excited at first, but then also realization kind of hits him, and he's like, "What are you doing here?"
Who do you think would win if it came down to Natalie versus Veronica? And
Natalie.
Natalie.
Veronica's not
without
going
a
to try.
doubt.
And like the hammer thing, pulling that hammer through. I don't know if that's true.
I don't think Veronica's going to try.
Recency bias,
Again, yeah,
which
But-
we could use for both
yeah.
of them.
yeah.
But regardless, my note on Paulie says his idol is CT. His challenge idol is CT.
Yeah.
I made a note. Was it young and crazy and blow up CT from years past that he's a fan of?
I don't know.
You know, the CT
I don't know anything about
that
Paulie.
was going to absolutely destroy Adam.
I don't know. I at one point, like once they kind of reconcile and CT's kind of spilling his feelings to Polly and all that, just talking about how Veronica doesn't try and he's upset and he's not a layup, and Veronica's like, it's not making me feel good. And at one point, Natalie jumps in, and actually she was the one who said it. We rewound it to try because we thought Veronica said it, and she was like, "You're not making her feel good." And he's like, yeah, that's his point. Like, he's upset right now.
Yeah, and then somebody said, "You're just used to winning."
That's what it was.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what it was.
Natalie said. You're just used to winning.
Yeah, so we thought it was, that was my fault. I had two
Yeah.
different quotes written down.
Veronica was the one that was like, "You're not making me feel good," and then Natalie turns to him and she's like, "You're just used to winning," and he's like, "Yeah, of course I
yeah,
am."
like, yeah, that's the whole point. You're here. You're not here to just hang out. You're here to win
Yeah.
money.
And that's the whole thing. I think Veronica, the last few seasons, which ever since I've been watching the challenge, I've never seen Veronica in a challenge where she actually tries. I haven't seen her really duke it out in a challenge or in an elimination.
Well, so going back to Paul's email earlier, he was saying, from his perspective, he would put Veronica competition for the
Yeah.
top 5. Again, it may be recency bias for us. That's the biggest disagreement we've had with him.
The only thing I've seen Veronica in where she gave 100% was the elimination
Was
in
she-
Dirty 30 versus she and Anissa, where she breaks
her.
her thumb.
Was it her thumb?
Or it was her thumb
Yeah,
or her
it's-
pinky, one. She breaks her finger
Yeah.
in the middle of the elimination, and it was like a 3-round elimination, and she continues to get it wrapped up and then jumps back in for the next round.
Did she?
Yep.
I
She
didn't remember
did.
that.
She did.
I remember it happened. I don't think she competed once she realized it broke.
Yeah, I don't think she
Yeah.
jumped back in because once they check that,
Yeah.
they're
Paul-
not going to let her.
Paul, you might need to check us on
No,
that. But from what I remembered, she
She definitely broke it.
She was still going.
She definitely broke it in the middle while it was happening and kept going. But once they realized,
once that round was over,
yeah.
By the way,
but that's the only thing I've ever seen her in any challenge I've ever seen. Any season that she's been on that I've seen, I've never seen her actually try aside from that one elimination.
Yeah, I think. I said it earlier. I think she's past her.
I think she's here to hang out.
I really would have liked to have seen CT go full heel during the Paulie interaction, and where Paulie's like, "Hey man, #1 fan, good to see you here." You know,
Did he say that?
No, I'm just I'm doing a real over the top fanboy Paulie. Hey man, good to see you here, #1 fan, been watching you for years. Sit down, Paul. Go away. Sit down somewhere. And I wish he would have gone.
You watch too much wrestling.
You can tell. You can tell when CT gets upset because they start having to do subtitles. And
he mumbles.
He kind of starts mumbling. And
but yeah, Paulie did say he's been watching him for years, and I'm like, ooh, that's kind of.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird to think about.
Going to be CT.
But
no.
But
he's got little man syndrome.
This is the first CT blow up since when him and Wes were on a team and rivals, and they're going at Johnny and Frank. Which,
maybe.
CT didn't get too wild in that one. But even before that, it's when him and Wes got into it, or Wes is throwing his mattress out of the room and stuff. Yeah. So it's been a while. This was fresh. It was good to see aggressive, intense CT again.
He's got a lot of energy. He's been going to bed at 7 o'clock every night.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's got all this pent up. Again, he's just upset that they're looked at as a joke, and
he's never been in that position.
He was. And when he was at his prime, he's not, we all can agree, I think he would agree, he's not in his prime. But when he was the #1 person you were afraid of in challenges.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just what it was.
I don't think people feel that way now.
But they're still scared of him.
Yeah.
Because they know he knows what it takes.
I think a lot of people see him as like one of the top 3 to beat.
Didn't he win Dirty 30?
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Or no, I'm sorry. He won the one right before.
Invasion of the Champs.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, Dirty 30 was Jordan and Camilla.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Camilla's last one.
Anyway, I mean, I feel like one, CT's never been in this position, so he doesn't know how to handle it. Mm-mm. And 2, regardless of that, I still don't feel like he's in the wrong for feeling the way that he does.
No, I don't think anybody would blame him. She clearly doesn't take it as serious as what.
It's evident.
He's out of shape too, but he's still he's not ripped like he used to be, but he still is ready to compete.
He's still putting in work.
He still has muscle underneath all that.
Right.
And he's still working out and whatever. But
he's a lot of genetics too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big man.
It is what it is.
Well, I have one last note I'd like to end on.
All right.
Shane called Derek popcorn muscles. Mm-hmm. So he's basically like the next Corey. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what podcast it was that we listened to a while back where they would refer to Corey as popcorn muscles all the time.
The No Quitters one, which ironically quit.
That's right. They did quit. They used to call Corey popcorn muscles all the time because he had like these really big arm muscles, but he never really could pull through in challenges or eliminations. Mm-mm. And so Shane called Derek popcorn muscles, and I'm like, you know what? He is the next popcorn muscles.
My only other like weird note that we didn't talk about was the fact that Nelson kept telling Kayla that he's like, I know you fancy me, and he kept saying fancy like in the British sense, and it was just kind of funny.
That was weird
that he kept saying it over and over again. But that was
weird.
That was my last one.
He's just trying to be relatable.
You love him.
I got a soft spot for Nelson.
You want to take him out to eat?
I would. I would take him out.
We could all take him out to eat. We can all do that.
We'll
have to reach out to him.
Let's get into tonight. Who smashed some heads? Well, let's do who got their head smashed tonight.
Who got their head smashed, huh?
Yeah. Veronica.
Natalie. Something happened to her.
Okay.
You think she got her head smashed off camera?
Yeah. I think she was like legitimately had like CTE or something, like some brain damage.
Something happened. In mid dream, out of dream, something. something happened to her.
I say Veronica because she never even got a grip on the stake the first jump. She hit the water really hard, and then for the rest of the episode, we see CT is either giving her the cold shoulder or yelling at her.
About her, but not to her.
Yeah, and so I definitely think she got her head smashed.
Yeah, I put Veronica. I mean, she didn't even make the first one. I mean, they at least every other team made it and hung on to the first one.
Even Derek made it to
Yeah.
like the second rope.
Yeah, I think I get the Natalie one because it was like she had brain damage.
It was
for a minute.
really, it was just weird.
Derek's in bad company if we're comparing him with
Yeah,
Veronica.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So as far as who smashed some heads tonight, what do you think?
I wrote Kyle
Okay.
separate from Brad. I did not put Brad, even though they as a team won.
Okay.
I don't think Brad smashed heads because he is getting his heart smashed.
And his head is
So,
partially smashed.
His head is partially smashed. So
Interesting.
Yeah. I
I
understand that.
say Kyle. He's throughout the entire episode that we watched tonight, he was mostly out of the spotlight aside from
He
the
was,
daily challenge.
other than when he like stared right in the camera.
We didn't see him with Faith at all because Faith was with Nelson and Kaylee was freaking out over it. So that
Yeah.
was like a whole thing. But yeah, Kyle kind of stayed low this episode aside from winning.
You could say he smashed our heads when he looked into the camera.
It wasn't directed to us though.
Kyle smashed Polly's head and the audience's head for breaking the fourth wall tonight
the
for the first time in
intensity-
challenge history.
Yeah.
Paul, you might need to touch at me on that. I really don't think it's ever happened before, but if it has, let us know.
Okay, just for Paul's sake, I don't want him to go back and find that because
We've got about 9 stat checks for Paul
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
also
but-
that
but
one is going to
he-
be the hardest one to find.
He might know that one off the top of his
I
head.
don't think anyone ever has written down like they looked at the camera.
Well, we wrote it down tonight.
Yeah, but I'm okay. That's going to be so hard to find.
Paul, you don't have to go back and check it. If you don't know it off the top of your head, just let us know.
So-
We're not going to make you put in that work.
I'll jump in with mine just because it's you said you didn't go with Brad. I went with Brad for 2 reasons. One, they killed the challenge. They
did.
They were the
They
best
dominated.
team. They were, other than Tony and Bananas, they were the only other team that made it, and they beat them. But I wrote specifically. You can see my notes. I wrote 2 reasons.
But
One,
you didn't write down the reasons.
I didn't because I didn't want you to look at it.
Okay.
And I also kind of forgot the second one halfway through.
Well, that's what you get.
Zachary.
So, first reason, killed the challenge, physical aspect of it, whatever. Second reason is he's going to lay the wood to Brittany, not in a sexual way, but
What?
in a kill their relationship way.
What? Lay the
Boy.
wood? What does that even mean?
It's the old saying.
I do believe that's the first time I've ever heard you use that expression.
I think
That's the first time I've heard anyone
I
say
think that's
that.
the first time I've ever said that expression.
The things you'll say when they put a microphone in front of your face.
You know, we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes, and things just come out.
Yeah.
And I wrote that he smashed some heads because he's ending things with Brittany. We only got
And
to see
it's
a sneak.
about time. I did say last week, I wish that they would break up.
We only got to see a sneak peek of it. That's not an easy thing to do. I will say, to your point, he did kind of get his heart smashed.
He did.
But I think you saw her face, the screenshot at the end where she's like, ugh.
he smashed her
He
head.
smashed her head.
I kind of am excited to see the aftermath of it. Like, after he breaks up with Brittany, he's not going to be thinking about it anymore. I kind of want to see him just absolutely go all in on the challenge and completely destroy everybody.
He might. I mean, he's good. He's crazy good
I
shape.
think he's going to have a lot of like pent up emotion and energy that he needs to absolutely just release on everybody.
So what is yours?
CT. It was good to see. You know,
We all had a different answer. That's good.
Yeah.
it was good to see CT throwing chairs. I loved the little shade he threw at Veronica when first thing he did walking into the Redemption House was pour the glass
Yeah.
of wine.
But
I
didn't
loved
say
that.
anything.
Didn't say a word
Yeah.
to her.
And she's standing
And
like
then she just kind of
like,
meekly,
very close to him.
she kind of like scuttles in behind him and gets a glass out and starts to pour her own.
Yeah. And so I think, from a more mental and emotional standpoint, he really smashed some heads tonight.
Yeah.
He
And,
smashed Veronica's head for sure.
Yeah, so that's something I'm looking forward to seeing is where CT kind of goes from here.
Yeah, it will be interesting because we don't know what type. Here's the thing: if they keep doing the Redemption House the way they did, they'll add 2 more teams to it before they do a double cross, if that's the model they're going to keep up with. I saw a bunch of people on Reddit who were really mad. They're like, stop doing the purge challenges. And my point on there was, well, the only way to keep the Redemption House, like, quote unquote, stocked full of people is to do the purge challenges. Otherwise, this season would go on for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And
I thought that the purge was interesting. I enjoyed it today. I hated that it was CT that had to go in.
Today was performance based. It was really unfair, kind of the first one when they had the first like group of people, but because again, Zach and Amanda just got to choose.
Yeah,
and also Jenna was the last one, but that's their model for this season. It is what it is.
I like it.
You can like it, you can hate it, but they've chosen this is what we're doing, and
I like that they're doing something different.
Well, they've done the.
I like when they change it up.
They've done the house before, but
the purge. That's
they've done similar stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I haven't seen it in a while.
Well, they haven't done it in a way where it's been like a double cross to get back in and all that stuff. So
2 out of the first 3 challenges have been purges.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you just look it up?
No, the very first one where they're opening up the graves and stuff, that was a purge, right? And then this one, the only other daily challenge there's been was the rings, and that wasn't a purge.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
I will say, I feel better about this season now that we're 5 episodes in.
Yeah.
I was worried about the pacing of it, especially how much, again, they drug out the Cara and Kyle thing to begin with. I'm glad they seem to have kind of moved past that.
We didn't see hardly any of that.
We saw a preview of it for next week real quick, but again, I'm glad they kind of have moved past that just for our sake, because we're kind of tired of it. I think a lot of people are tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are honestly kind of tired of her, it seems. There's been a lot of talk about her, just social media, Reddit, all that stuff. And
I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about next week.
Probably. Yeah. Are you here next week? You are here next week.
I am here next week, along with my little brothers.
I couldn't remember.
Then you guys immediately leave.
You leave like right after.
Right.
So
I'm going to the beach, everyone.
Yeah.
It's the first time in 5 years, and I am beyond excited. I'm in the best shape of my life, so I'm ready to get out there with my shirt off and not be overweight, and I'm excited about that. I'm proud.
There you go.
I'm not arrogant. I'm proud.
To be an American.
That too.
Yeah, so we'll go into our closing part tonight. I mean, we're pushing an hour and a half, but band from our high school years.
I'll just go ahead and give you who I'm listening to right now that I just started listening to after, man, it's been years, but Copeland.
Yeah, you told me about that.
I've been, and it's a lot different from the suggestions that really both of us gave. It's more very easy listening. It's not something that's going to really entertain you, I guess. But if you're like, man, if you're doing some studying,
their first 2 CDs are really good.
They are really good. If you're studying, if you're reading, if you're like, I was editing some pictures the other night, and I just had Copeland on in the background.
It's good background music.
It is great It's just soothing and peaceful.
To me, some of the songs can get a little sleepy sometimes.
Yeah. If you need help getting to sleep.
That too. If you're trying to go to sleep, Copeland's great.
What about you, Hannah? Do you have anything?
Paramore's Riot album.
Again, these are much different time frames from us than you. That's fine. I don't mind that. Again, I remember when Paramore was just a band from Franklin that was on like Fueled by Ramen and no one knew who they were.
Oh, I remember
right
that
down
too.
the road from us.
Yeah.
Man, I still haven't met Haley Williams.
I've never. We were at that Newfound Glory show where she sang at.
She came out as a surprise
and
guest.
I was at. Were you with me in like 2009 or 2010? This is going to segue really well into my suggestion. Like 2009 or so, at Rocketown in Nashville. Me Without You was there. It was the Weiss Family Band. Actually, it was like an offshoot of Me Without You.
Well, I've been with you almost all your life, but I was not there at that moment.
So this was a small show. It was like Me Without You and the Salters and Damien Gerardo. Chris, if you're listening to this, he'll get a big kick out of that. He loves Damien Gerardo. They played, and it was a basement show at the old Rocketown, so it wasn't the main stage. And I look over like 10 feet to my left, and then Haley Williams is just there listening to Me Without You.
Hey, all right.
And
that's not fair.
I mean, she likes that band. So that actually was not planning on talking about that at all. You just happened to bring them up. My suggestion, I was cleaning today, moving some stuff around. I got my record player set back up. It hasn't been set up in like a year and a half. And I have a bunch of the first presses of the old Me Without You records. I was listening to Catch Us the Foxes today.
Hey.
Top to bottom, unskippable. Like, it's such a good record.
The album after that one was really good too. Which was that one?
Brother, Sister?
I think so.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one too.
I have that one as well. I've got A to B Life, all of them. But for some reason, I just wanted to listen to... I think Catch Us the Foxes is a good transition from their a little bit heavier A to B Life into the Brother, Sister. Brother, Sister's great, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I haven't listened to that album in years.
Different listens for you this week.
Yeah, I wanted to give something that wasn't as heavy.
Yeah.
And because I'll bring some of those back around, but we didn't just listen to crazy heavy bands. And we did talk about off mic this week that a lot of those heavy bands don't really hold up anymore.
Right.
Some of them do. Some of them do great, but just
a lot of them are borderline unbearable to listen to now.
Again,
for me they are.
I specifically brought up like heavy, low was like a very
can't do it.
That was a product of the time. Like they would not be nearly what they are now. Or you brought up.
I can't listen to Blood Brothers anymore.
I love I almost suggested the Blood Brothers this week.
Number 12 Looks Like You. Can't
That's
do
different.
it no more.
Blood Brothers to me are not in the same category as them, but we're not gonna get into all that. We just we were just looking for different stuff then, so it is what it is. We like weird things sometimes, but we wanted to give some different suggestions this week.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, we have very expansive tastes.
We got to be diverse. If we're going to be successful, we got to be diverse.
I still listen to Paramore almost daily.
I do not.
I do. Like their really, really old albums.
You like that new one a lot.
And their new album, I play it almost every single day on my way to work.
I didn't know that.
I love it.
But I don't work with you, so we don't go together.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sometimes we ride together.
That's true.
We just feel like we want to spend more time together.
And in the mornings, that's not time.
Early in the morning.
Yeah. Again, we went longer than we ever have before.
But we knew we were going to have a lot to talk about tonight.
The cool thing is I don't have any edit points to take out, so I don't have to edit at all.
We did a good job.
Yeah.
Good job, everyone.
And so...
We did it.
Yeah. I mean, again, hit our plugs real quick. Do you want to try them again? You can go.
Twitter, @SmashingHeadsPC. PC stands for pretty cute. Instagram is going to be @SmashingHeadsPodcast. Be watching both of those.
For news
in the next couple days. We have some really cool things coming up this week and next week.
And next week, too.
Also, we do Facebook as well. It's going to be facebook.com/Smashing Hits Podcast.
Or just search for it.
Or you can just go to Facebook and search it in the search bar.
And we have an email.
That's right, we do. We have an email. I never get on it.
smashingheadspodcast@gmail.com. You can follow our Podbean. We have a handful of followers on there. Most people get our
iTunes
podcast through the iTunes.
Shout out to Paul, because we're really good friends now. Paul, I know you're looking for your first house. First time home buying is a really big deal. It's a lot of fun, but it's also really scary. Your girl here just passed her board exams for her real estate license. So if you need a realtor, I'm down here in Tennessee.
You don't know the Michigan market at all.
I don't know where you're looking, but if you need some pointers, let me know.
Yep. And again, we could talk with people about the NBA all day long, but we're not going to get into all that. So
keep reaching out to us. We love the
love
the
it.
interaction.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It makes this. We're not just talking to ourselves for an hour and a half once a week.
It lets us know that there are people behind the numbers that we see.
Yeah.
And
like Wesley.
Well, we know that because I guarantee you when
I haven't said anything about Wesley tonight.
We'll have a text message at like 6:30 in the morning of something that we don't have context to.
Where he's listening to it, and it's like he's in conversation with us in his car.
His back. I can't believe you just said that.
It will be happily welcomed.
Yeah.
It's a joy to
I
hear
love
from
it
Wesley.
so much.
So yeah, again, be watching out.
If you made it this far in the podcast, just hit us back with a hashtag pray for CT.
Well, okay, there's going to be a lot of people that use that as on national TV.
but at us on
Okay,
Twitter.
okay, gotcha.
On Twitter or Instagram or email like Paul did with a # cannonball.
That's going to be the episode name for tonight. Is just #PrayForCT.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, just a real quick little tease. If you want to kind of have an idea of what we're really pushing for, Battle of the Seasons, and then
Free agents.
There's a reason we just watched all those. That's all I'm going to say.
Connect the dots.
Until next week. See you later.
Have a good night, everyone.